I added flowers in the back.
I did notice that. Now, do you have them growing wild around the house, or was that a purchase?
I it's a purchase. I have to that's a throwback to when I dated Christy 7 years ago.
Yes.
She'd bring flowers to the house and I'd be like, really? Flowers. Yeah, whatever.
Oh, you really?
I could take it or leave it
Okay.
back then. But then I said, you know what? This is nice. It's nice having flowers in the house.
Flowers are nice. And
So
yeah, it's Christy's so unusual as a female that she would enjoy bringing flowers into the home.
what is
What a
that?
unique, interesting thing.
Well, people bring flowers in the house, right?
Absolutely. Women especially love them. And I love it when guys love it because it has nothing to do with femininity. It's just a great energy in the room when you have something live.
I know. I mean, me and Pat are looking at each other the last month or so, and I'm like, you know what? I used to like to bring freshly cut flowers. Now I've got a budget in mind. I'm not going to throw a lot of money at it.
I'm gonna put a budget and it has to be within 2 miles of my home or I'm not buying them.
I mean, Costco has these amazing bouquets, but they want $20. My
Um,
budget is 10 for flowers.
all right. By the way, I'm Melinda McKinsey.
And I'm Melinda McKinsey.
We're going to be obviously unpacking some shit because this flower thing is a problem. You need a
Yes, we're
budget.
we're
You need
starting with a
timeline.
controversial, huh?
Well, I live in Brooklyn, and the thing is, in mostly in the city, not as much in Brooklyn, but they have the outdoor flower arrangements everywhere, and it's just lovely. So you can buy flowers at a very cheap price.
How
Big.
much is what's your budget for flowers?
I have no budget for flowers. I find flowers I like and I buy them. I don't tell
Really?
myself I must stay under $10. I buy the beauty of
Would you
it.
put $50? You just spend $50 on flowers?
Only if it was a special occasion, not for every day.
And would you buy them for you or would you buy them for like your daughter and her boyfriend? That doesn't make any sense, right? I'm-
I would buy $50 worth of flowers for myself. If I can't love myself that way, then what's wrong with me?
I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I bought tulips in a container. They look great till I watered them to death.
Yeah. You like to water those flowers and plants.
Yes. And then I bought more tulips, and yet the watering continues, and they're dying on the back porch right now as we speak.
So you have learned.
Flowers don't like water.
They don't need as much as we think they need, right? Yeah, no, I love having flowers. So,
Yeah.
remind me again how many topics you have today? This Monday, the end of the month,
Thanks for calling me out, Ali.
Monday. You
You know what?
have stuff.
I've got. Oh, you know what? I wanted to talk about masks. I was listening to Dusty Slay. I love Dusty. Dusty. He's a comic. As a matter of fact, the
Okay.
guy's in peril. You might say a prayer for him. The last he didn't show up and do his weekend at Side Splitters this weekend.
What's going on?
He's in the hospital. He had an appendix burst, and they didn't go in and get it. They just said, "Well, we're just going to give you a bunch of antibiotics," and he wasn't feeling because I follow him on his podcast, and that's like. And then his wife came on the last podcast and says, "Hey, Dusty's not coming. He's in the hospital. Say a prayer."
I did not know you could just let it burst like that. I thought the whole point was the urgency of getting it out.
I
getting
mean,
the
once
poison.
it burst, and there's nothing to be done except for what are you going to do?
I don't know.
I don't know what the protocol is. I always thought that's a serious situation when it bursts because all
Yeah.
that bile and all that stuff just goes into your
Right.
system.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. So he was saying something about
Well,
masks
he's like, I think he's like, why can't we all get along?
because
Oh,
we can't.
well, here's the deal. Why can't we all get along? Masks are stupid. Why just can't we all get along? Masks, anybody wears a mask, they're not paying attention what's going on. Why just can't we all get along? Well, Dusty, because some people don't think masks are stupid. There you go. Now we're not getting along. Why don't you say masks are great? Then you get along with the other guy's situation, right? The people
Right.
that want everybody to get along want to get along on their terms.
Yes.
Why can't we get along on my terms?
Yes. I've been in many dating relationships like that.
Why just can we
Like,
get along?
oh, you always want to fight. Why do you always have to have things your way? Oh, you're right. If we did everything your way, we'd get along swimmingly. I understand now.
I mean, that's a very simple disconnect, right?
Oh, yes. It really is. But I guess if you're so deep in your ideas about right and wrong, I could see where that'd be that misconception of, hey, I'm really helping people here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get you on track. Why
Yeah.
can't we get along?
No, exactly. I mean, I'm sure you've seen in the news. I've been reading an awful lot about the levels of how people are dealing with the pandemic, dealing with travel, dealing with work, because we're all at a different place, right? We all are coming from very different places. Of some people, because they've had to be out in the world and work, they're more comfortable, like going to a store,
Right.
right?
Right.
As
No doubt about it. Everybody has their own comfort level, and it's different depending upon your experience or your where your brain's at.
and we're all judging each other and we're all being hard on each other, and for me it's very hard. I try not to get really upset if I see people I know and they're posting that they're traveling and they're hugging their grandkids. It's hard for me because my space is
Right.
not like that.
I could concur. My girls are like, you're like my girls. They think I'm nuts. You're going into a restaurant with a mask in, sitting in the back outside. You might as well be playing Russian roulette with a loaded gun, or I'm going into Publix to shop, or I'm, doing whatever. But that's
Yeah.
been my experience. And then I got other people they don't give a crap about wearing the mask, and they're having, they're working, people are coming into the space. And then you got my girls are sequestered in a
Yeah.
box in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many levels. So we're not all going to agree on what works.
And I blame the government. We're in a vacuum of information. They're saying this and this, and it's like I feel very much like it's a hurricane situation where the first hurricane of the season, or we haven't had a hurricane in Florida in a couple of hey,
Yeah.
we got a hurricane. People are putting up boards and gathering food and making plans. And then the hurricane skirts up 100 miles and kind of peters out. It's like, we got very excited over pretty much nothing. Then the
Right.
second hurricane warning, we're doing less and less and less. So we haven't had the full information on what's really happening here, because it's really affects most people that with a medical condition over 65. That's the bulk of this deal right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I am reading, and I do feel the media does like to put the dark slant on it, because obviously you get more attention and more viewers,
Of
and
course.
and I do understand that. But also, what do you recommend as someone who, is trying to get the proper information? What is safe? Where do you go?
Where do you go?
That's
Everybody's got a slant.
where do you go? So I'm trying to listen to all sides, especially in New York. I recognize where I'm at is very different. There's no city like this city. Most people do not drive a car. So already off the bat, we've got people that have to mix. They have
Right.
no choice. They cannot social distance. And guess what? When you're walking anywhere in New York, forget about the 6 feet. Not happening. Right. So I get that it's different, but at the same time, where is the smartest place to get your information so you
I
feel like,
I think the CDC is internationally recognized as a solid source of information,
yeah,
unbiased information. I think it was a little slanted during Trump's term, and the fact that he was, changing people out to get the kind of physically changing what the announcements were and putting
yeah,
the CDC banner on it. But I think now that the world looks to the CDC, so that's what I pretty much use as my barometer.
yeah.
That's where I'm getting my information.
I've just been kind of hitting because with my work, I work with local news stations. So as I'm working with them, I'll just look up their news, and it's very different. It's very different. West Coast is still being careful. Um, Arizona, Texas, not so much. Not so much. They're more like everything's fine. It's over. That mentality is it's over. I don't know. And, again, I'm on the other extreme and I recognize it. I'm not saying I'm right, but this is where I'm at. I don't think this is going to be over. This is something we have to adhere and adjust to. There's no over with what's going on here. It's going to be different levels. Don't you think, Tom? This is years and years of adjustment. And it sounds like we're going to get shots every year now for the different variants. I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. Here's what I think. I think we are close to being over. I think we've
Oh,
we've waved the flag about 6 weeks too soon.
Okay.
I think this is my opinion, by the end of April, everybody who wants a shot will get a shot. The sad part about it, it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 40% of Americans really want the shot and get the shot. Well, we need it to be 80%. So here's my vision of the future. I've gotten the shot. I wear the mask out in public. April, this next month is going to come and go in 4 weeks. Everybody who wants the shot is going to be able to have an opportunity to get the shot. And I think in May, me as a vaccinated person is like, well, you had a chance to get the shot. Come May, I'm taking my mask off. Come May and June, I'm off with my mask. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, feeling that I'm individually protected. I'm no longer going to try to protect you because you've chosen to not participate in the process. So it's possible. I think that they're going to come out and say, if you're vaccinated, you're probably not giving off virus. That is what I'm going to think is happening.
Even when you fly, you wouldn't wear a mask even then?
Probably you're going to have places that are going to mandate you wearing a mask.
Okay.
So I'm going to say they're probably going to keep flying with a mask on for 4 months.
Okay.
Something like that. But I think we're coming up to what the new normal is going to be, is because it's going to be interesting to see. They're talking about these passports.
Yes.
Okay.
Vaccine passport.
I can't see I can see that there's a small window where a vaccine passport might be effective. Let's say in New York, April 14th, they're going to have a concert inside. You want to participate, you've got to have your vaccine passport or a negative test within the last 2 days. Okay. Outside of that, you give this thing a couple of months, people who are vaccinated are going to participate. And if you're not vaccinated, it's going to be on you. You're not going to get anyone sick because they've been vaccinated. Now, if you want to travel to Italy, they may say you got to have a vaccine passport. But I think in the States, it doesn't. Patrick and I were talking about, it doesn't make sense logically, because at a certain point, people are going to do what they're going to do, and they're not going to do what they're not going to do. So let's just move on with it. And they may get sick.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess my concern as someone whose job is travel is when I get back to travel, even if I've been vaccinated, will everybody else on the plane be vaccinated? That's what I'm not sure of.
But you know what? But if you're vaccinated, you've got protections. I mean, it's not 100%.
Yeah.
It's like it's going to be like the flu or a cold. I mean, would you not travel if you had a cold?
I mean, here's the funny thing. Before the pandemic, I traveled 5 days a week. I was around sick people all the time. And for the most part, I was like, I didn't try to shield myself or, I never did that because I thought, well, immunity. I built up my immunity.
Right.
And I guess my brain feels differently the first few times. I think when I get back out in the world, I think I probably will wear a mask because I think it's going to take me a minute.
It's crazy. Of course, it's nuts. Because I was at Side Splitters last night.
Yeah.
You wear the mask because I feel I'm 17 days in. I'm probably as protected as I'm gonna get.
Okay.
So I'm wearing a mask out of respect. Go to my seat, take the mask off, enjoy the show, mask back on, and then it's mask on, mask off. And in that little booth around the bar, 70% of people have no mask. 30% of people have masks. It was a madhouse of who's comfortable with what, where you're standing, where you're around. It's nuts.
I don't know. And how crowded was it? Do they have mandates on the space on?
It was a Sunday. I think I think he sells the place out. I mean, 6 months ago, he was half capacity and sticking with that. Now I think he's free to sell as many. I mean, legally, he's free to sell as many as he wants.
Okay.
There's no more legal restrictions.
Okay. Well, and I guess if people are concerned, they just wouldn't go, right?
Just wouldn't go. That's what it's going to turn into be. If I get vaccinated, I'm going to go feel safe. You're not vaccinated. You don't think it exists. You're going to go. You may get sick, or you may not get sick. You may be right. You may be right. You may not be in any danger. I don't know.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because we're all coming from different places.
Right.
Well, since we're speaking about things and being accurate, I do have a little bit of something. We had our guest, Matt Davis.
Oh, Davis, pull up next to the old TV set.
Here's the thing. When you have conversations with people and they speak with such assurance about a fact, and I haven't researched that fact.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't feel strong enough to debate it because I don't know.
You'll defer to the person that feels sure.
And that is a problem in society where people say things with a surety when it's not a fact.
You know what? And you and Matt were having such a pleasant talk at the end.
You know, it's over.
Time.
No, here's
even aggravating me. I'm like, can we wrap it up? This love fest is getting to be too much.
Here's what concerned me. Matt said with such confidence that under President Trump, more Blacks had been employed. Well, this is the most I've ever researched presidents and politics in my life. And my remembrance of that was that it wasn't accurate, but I didn't feel strong enough to stand up to Matt because he was so sure. So I looked it up. Okay. And when I researched it, I researched several different outlets to see like what's the truth here? I don't want to pick out something because I disagree with somebody.
What fake media platform did you use?
I knew you were going to say that. So I picked up, I have a lot of things on my phone I wanted to talk about today, but this was the thing. It bothered me because it was so sure. So here, this is verbatim. It's true that Black unemployment did reach a record low during the Trump administration.
Done. You're going to apologize to Matt?
That's not the entire story. 5.9% in May of 2018. It currently stands at 6%, but many economists view the continued economic growth since the middle of 2009, when Democratic President Barack Obama was in office, as the primary explanation for hiring. More important, there are multiple signs that the racial wealth gap is now worsening, and the administration appears to have done little, if anything, to specifically address this challenge. African Americans have also had a higher income prior to the Trump administration. A Black household earned a median income of $40,258 in 2017, the latest data available. That's below a 2000 peak of 42,348. I said that because you like numbers. According to the Census Bureau, here's the final statement. The most dramatic drop in Black unemployment came under Obama. It fell from a recession high of 16.8% in March 2010 to 7.8% in January 2017.
Oh, you've lost the whole audience.
No, the problem I had with
I try to come up with a couple of jokes and a couple of laughs, keep it light.
Absolutely not, because
now it's a numbers game.
When people give any president credit when they just jumped into office for stuff previous presidents have done, I have a problem with that.
Of course, it's crazy. Gas prices are Biden's fault. The stock market is Trump's responsibility. It's like you can't have it both ways.
Right. So Trump stepped into something that Obama had already set up. Of
course. Well, whatever. There's always transition. I
know.
And then Trump, 3.5 years into his presidency, said the cupboard was bare when it comes to the pandemic. Really, you had 3.5 years to get ready. Why is that Obama's problem?
Well, Obama had a pandemic governing body, and Trump dismantled it.
Of course he did, but he blamed Obama. Well, right. You have 3.5 years. You should have been on it. You know, right. What are your plans?
Right. I just.
Okay, we all love politics.
Listen, we can leave politics because I have a very fun.
I vote for you. You're right, and Davis is wrong again.
I just want the facts to get out there because
he's never allowed on the show anymore.
It's frustrating when people are so confident in things that maybe aren't necessarily true. I'm frustrated with that.
Of course.
You got to really source that stuff out.
Figures can lie and liars can figure.
That's right.
Guess who got a little gift basket over the weekend?
Baked by Red. Did you get some cookies?
Yes, I did. This is interesting. So that's a lovely little card, this is printed out of her printer, but it's got a Hallmark sticker on the back.
She's very good. What kind of cookies did you get?
She gave me the variety pack.
Oh.
Can you read that? It's backwards for me.
Yeah, www.getbakedbyred.com. That's right.
I don't think I got the baked kind.
Well, I love Jamie's cookies, and the cool thing is you get to mix and match whatever you want.
Oh, they were delightful. That was such a treat. Plus, the best part was they weren't vegan, so who couldn't have any.
But she does do vegan. She does all kinds of everything, but too bad for Patrick. Which ones did you try?
I was enjoying every one of them. I don't know that they had names, but they had all sorts of different
Oh, they do.
green things and chocolate things and M&M things. Quite
Nice.
delightful. I didn't finish them. Maybe I ate half.
Yeah, baked by Red Man. It's great. It's great knowing someone will make fresh cookies just for you, and then just boom, you get them. And I think she vacuum packs them when she ships them, right? So
It was amazing. They're in this plastic little container and then vacuum packed on
yeah,
top of that in a box.
so fresh.
It was delightful. Very
Oh, I'm
nice.
so glad. I'm so glad. Well, since you think I'm being so harsh with politics and correcting people, I did find a fun thing.
Can we talk about, yeah.
Have you ever heard of naughty roll dice play?
I think I have, where you roll dice and it's lick this, then the next roll is a certain body part.
Yes. Yes.
Are we going to play it now?
Well, here's the thing.
Oh,
They're sold out. I was looking at it and I thought, well, is it sold out because people are home a lot during the pandemic? Like,
sold out.
Is it an Easter gift? What's going on? Because it's sold out.
What's sold out? You can't get it.
Dice, the naughty dice are sold out right now.
I've got some right here.
I was looking up, yeah, pull that out. I was looking up, just fun, sexy things. And of course, they've got games and everything. But I think the dice sounds really fun because it'd be a very easy,
of course,
sometimes when you're in a relationship at the end of the night, instead of going into the same old moves, wouldn't it be nice to get the naughty dice?
Absolutely.
You roll one, he rolls the other, and then one says like rub, caress, suck, whatever, and the other does give all the body parts, and then you just get to play. And I'm like, that's the most fun thing I've heard of in a long time.
There you go. Yeah, me and the comics were playing that the other day at the Scythe Brothers.
Of course you were. So I'm sorry people can't get it for Easter because it's sold out.
There's got to be different manufacturers for that.
No, you can't get it anywhere. Sorry, sir. No.
I think it's more of a Valentine's Day thing, don't you think?
Well, I don't know. I'm wondering if the
pandemic, or anniversary gift or something, perhaps.
Maybe. I feel like the pandemic has changed us in so many ways. I guess in my headspace, because I'm not in a relationship right now.
What?
Is that? Can you believe it? I'm so good and flexible. I would think if you're in a relationship at this point of the pandemic, maybe you're not at your best with each other right now. Maybe you've been together a long time.
It's so important to hit that reset button because, aggravation and animosity that just like builds on each other and you can't even have a good time anymore.
No.
Hit the reset button. Let's forgive each other for all this bullshit. Let's go back to a foundation.
Yeah. How do you hit the reset though? What's the secret to hitting the reset button?
You put something in her coffee when she's not paying. Oh.
No, really. How do you genuinely?
I think here's the deal. Clearly you and I haven't experienced this because we're both single right now. But I always think the best time to come up with a plan for repair is during a good time of your relationship.
Okay.
We're in a good space right now. Let's come up with some sort of, safe words or phrase that we're going to say when we're in the shit that we're both going to agree that, oh, okay, we're identifying a little storm here. Let's go back and see if we can't reset this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
During a good time, you talk about what you're going to do because you're going to come up with a pandemic plan during, a good harvest.
I mean, you're going to argue with who you love. That's just a thing. You're going to be upset. You're going to be irritated. So I was in a relationship once. I was so impressed with this guy because at the very beginning, he did what you said. He said, you know what? I can't read your mind. You can't read mine. If something's bothering you, you tell me, I'll tell you. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
Let's have communication, right?
So then.
How did this shit hit the fan?
Wow. So
what did you do?
Happened. So.
To this amazing man.
When I started getting angry, I said, you know what? I'm getting angry. It went great. And I was like, I've never had this. I was so excited. Then roll forward a couple of weeks. He got mad about something, completely shut down.
Oh.
To me. So I guess the rules only I.
Okay. The same thing. Why can't we all get along with my concept of reality?
It doesn't work if only one person does it.
You got the trouble is if you're matching with somebody and you don't see the world the same way. I've been on I was on a date a while back and it's like we really don't see the world the same way. So it's not there, it's destined to fail.
But don't you think part of the fun of a relationship is really being so very different from each other? Are you saying like positive, negative? What do you mean not seeing it in the same way? Like she was like all negative and you're more laid back?
Well, let's say, you can choose like, oh, I don't like vanilla, but I like chocolate, and I like vanilla, but I don't like chocolate. You can get along with that person,
Yeah.
right? I think that let's say me. I'm saying that I think that poor people aren't grateful enough, and they should work hard for their checks, for their welfare checks. Whereas she's like, oh no, we should, just because you're on the planet, you should be able to get some check, and you should be able to eat. So we're not seeing the world the same way. You know what I'm saying? It's a big way.
Yes.
It's a big philosophical way to look at how the planet is spinning. And I'm not saying that that's a specific issue that I've had in the past. I'm just using this as an example. We
Yeah.
can differ on the small things, but we've got to be on the same page on the big things.
Yes. No, you're right.
Chocolate, vanilla,
No, you're right.
immigration, whatever. And at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff isn't important, but it's an indication of how you see the world.
Yeah, like you were saying in one of the past shows, where if you're going out on a date and they're a big Trump supporter or they're not interested in getting vaccinated, that'd be kind of a hard line where you don't have to waste a whole lot of time.
Well, I'm saying, but you also have levels. I mean, I could see somebody who's a Trump supporter, but are you a crazy Trump supporter, or just like, no, I prefer to have a powerful man in charge, and I feel confident when he's whatever. You know, Everybody who's supporting particularly Trump or like DeSantis, I always enjoy the 20-minute preamble before they get to the support part. He's not a perfect person, and there's a lot of stuff wrong with him. Yeah, well, that's the part we don't like. We prefer
Right.
our leaders to be a bit more perfect. Anyway,
Yeah.
so things like that. If you're not seeing the world in the same way, it's hard.
Okay. So let's say you're dating, you found someone you really, oh, you have so much fun, you look forward to seeing them, you miss them when they're gone.
Yeah,
But here's the one problem. The sex life isn't so great.
they've got a penis.
Oh, for me that works. For you, maybe not.
Not so much.
So if the sex life isn't great, would you give up a great relationship because of that?
It depends. It depends. That's an interesting question. See, the thing of it is with sex, either one, you don't want to. I'm giving or taking. You don't want to be, forcing your ideas or your philosophy on that person, because there's only going to take. They're only going to give it up so much to please you, and then there's animosity. It's like she wants to have sex once a month. You'd like to have sex 3 times a week. Those numbers aren't going to work,
Yeah.
or vice versa. He only is interested in sex once a month. She
Right.
wants sex 3 times a week. Those numbers aren't going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think your sex life is really important, but also it is that balance you were talking about. Because I've been with partners that were great sexually, but out in the world they weren't that great. And so it's like it's fun to have a partnership with someone who's really good in bed, but that doesn't last very long when you're embarrassed in front of your
They're
friends,
mean to
or
waiters, or yeah.
they're just kind of not the best people out in public. So I know plenty of, especially men, say, "Oh, who cares? If I have a good sex life, I can look past all the other stuff." And I don't believe that to be true. If you truly want to be happy,
Yeah, it makes for a weak foundation.
yeah. I mean, I think I could see where people say, "Well, let me just put up with this for a little bit, and see how this pans out." But I think sex is such an important part of the relationship, and I think when you meet people and you talk, it's one of the things you really don't even discuss
This
before
is my app idea.
No, you got to do your app.
I mean, could you imagine dating somebody for 3 weeks, 6 weeks? You want to give us some space and blah, 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 blah. You want to make sure you're tired of just giving it up at the third, second date and blah, 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 blah. So you get to date number 9. It's like, okay, it's time. And it's all bad. It's like, oh, God, we've wasted 3 months or whatever it's been.
Yeah. Sex is so important, but how do you comfortably
My app.
do it already? Create the app. What would you call your app?
Red. It's
What?
a great idea. It's a great idea.
And yet, where is it?
Right. No, I mean, you fill out your 100-question survey. I fill out my 100-question survey. And it goes into great detail, but we don't know what the answers are. But we touch our apps together. We touch our phones together, and it's green, meaning, hey, you guys are on the same page, or it's red, or pink, or light green. It's like, there's a couple of things you could work out.
And do you think people would honestly answer those questions? Because I would think there'd be privacy issues people would be very concerned about. Let's say someone who is very prominent doesn't want people to know he's into anal balls. Will he answer those questions?
You know what? The results are only as good as what you put into the damn
But I
thing.
think
I mean, I did a survey once with a woman I dated in like week 3. Looked like we are going to be getting it on. And we did something similar. Although it was funny, at the end, I was able to see her answers. It's like, wow, that's kind of interesting.
I don't know if
And we ended up being compatible, but it was crazy that she saw my answers and I saw her answers. Like,
what was the test? Where did it come from?
it was like second internet thing.
Was it really detailed? Like,
Yeah, pretty graphic.
what was it called? Do you remember? Everybody should probably take a test like that.
Yeah, but not by yourself, but yeah.
Well, was the test made for partners to take so that way you
Yes,
can
yes. Pretty much my idea, but not in an app form.
Okay. Do you think that exists? You and I have talked about this. Once we come up with something, we Google it, and there it is. You don't
I'm
think?
not seeing that. You think that Match or Our Time or something farmers
I just
something.
think it's such a sensitive subject. People aren't willing to be honest with those because they don't want that data out there.
I know.
So
At the end of the day, we're all dead in 40 years, 30 years. Who gives a real crap about this?
What do you want to talk about now? What? Come on, man.
Plus, at our age, you might find people that are not interested in sex anymore.
Yes, of course, that's a horrible probability. But I remember I always date younger, and now it's getting to the point even the younger guys are kind of like not at their peak any longer.
I know.
Yeah. And well, and the other thing is too, when you start dating, obviously you put more time and attention into sex, right? Because you're more attentive.
Yeah.
After you're together a few months, I would find it very disheartening to be in a partnership with someone who wasn't really interested.
Yeah, you got to be on the same path.
But how do you, to have the conversation is, what do you say?
I had a friend of mine, I won't say her name, and we've never dated, but we've had great conversations. And she was on a second date with a guy, and the guy said to her, and we're all in a similar age, she's 50 something, and dating a guy who's similar. He goes, "Hey, I've got an unbelievable sex drive. I like having it a lot."
What does that mean?
Well, I'm saying, see, look at your reaction versus this is valuable information, because if you were looking for just take the crassness out of it. And if you were looking for, hey, I like having sex 3-4 times a week myself. So this is good information, but it comes off as very crass. It was like, no woman wants to hear some guy tell her, I like to bang 3-4 times. You may want a guy that wants to bang 3-4 times a week, but you don't want to hear him say it.
Well, when I heard you say a lot, I don't think 3 or 4 times a week is a lot. So when someone says a lot, I'm thinking, oh, he has a sex addiction. So 3 times a day, probably.
So what do you think is a lot?
I mean, every day. Give me a break. I don't want to have sex every day.
Right.
But I guess you're right. When a guy says that, my first reaction is, give me a damn break. No kidding, you want to have sex a
Right.
lot.
But versus, let's say the guy said to you this you on your second day, I like having sex about once a month, maybe around my birthday and something else. That's also valuable information.
It is valuable, valuable information.
The question is, could you digest the first answer of I like having sex a lot and then turn it into a positive, or would you just be turned off by the whole prospect of this guy saying that?
That's a great question. You
Thank
know
you.
what?
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night, and we're done. I think it depends on how it is shared. If a guy just says, look, I need to have a lot of sex, that's not clear to me what that means specifically. If he says, hey, can we talk about our sexual appetites? To me,
That's a good, absolutely. It's how it's presented.
yeah. If he says, you know what, I really like to have sex every other day. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So I just want to get that on the table.
Because you could coach that. You could coach that in a fashion like this. Hey, Melinda, you and I get along. I think that we've had a nice little chemistry here. I think we know we're on a good path. I said, in the past, I've maybe been on a similar path, but I find that, our energies didn't line up. I'd be interested in where you stand on something like this, and you feel comfortable having a conversation about that.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that going to get me laid or not?
Yeah, especially when you say that. Some things keep in your head. Don't say them out loud. Just keep that internal. But no, I think it is very important. And besides the sex, the intimacy, right? I mean, for me, being in a relationship, it's the intimacy of someone rubbing your back, someone just
Of
grabbing your
course,
hand,
it's
you
a
know.
whole, it's a moulage. It's a whole
But
thing.
but that's another thing too, because you may be with a partner that wants to have sex every other day, but they're not a cuddler. They don't want to
Right.
hold hand. I wouldn't enjoy that.
Oh,
I don't know. We need to come up with a sex test for people, because I
this
think
is
this is a
this
real
is more
problem in the
this more difficult than than astrology.
What does your sign say?
You should
What
have,
does it say? What?
how they have I'm an EDIF or whatever the hell, that personality type.
Yes.
They should have a sexuality type too. I'm an ABCD. I'm a do blah blah boom. Right. Here's my sex type is AGLM. Right.
Do that. I mean, the Myers Briggs took off, even though it wasn't really a legitimate situation.
Yeah,
I mean,
there was no doctor behind that.
No, there was no doctor behind it, and it's used because people bought into it, and people have not gotten jobs because of the Myers Briggs test.
I think I like my idea.
You better do something with it before people steal it. That's the secret. Can you sell that on HSN?
Well, I took the McKinsey Wise test, and she says my sexuality, I'm an HJLK.
And I'm an LMNOP. Actually, I think that's really brilliant, because it is something that's important. It is something we don't really discuss.
Oh, Christy's already working on it right now. She's hearing this, and she's Christy. Christy, our pharmacist, our Reiki.
Oh, Christy, I thought you were again referring to the one that had bought flowers in the past.
We're done with her.
Okay, well, I wasn't really sure. Christy probably could come. I mean, Christy could probably look at your fingernails and your tongue and know what your sex life is. She's that good.
Whose skin is underneath your fingernails?
You appear to be a murderer, sir.
Is this a topic we're on, or we're just rattling?
Well, yes, it's a topic. It's a sexual topic. We started with the sexy dice, and then we started talking about how important sex was, because it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Sex is very, very important.
Yes,
I mean, have you been in a relationship where you really liked the person, but the sex wasn't great, and you were able to kind of talk through it and go, hey, we need to try this. Let's do
No,
this.
I've been fortunate. Generally, we've all been on the same page.
And do you think it's because, I think it's hard for women to be honest about their sexuality, because we haven't really been taught to talk about a lot of things and say, hey, you're not finished yet. Hey, sir, I'm glad that you're done, but I'm not. Have you ever had that happen? No. Have
Now,
you
now,
ever?
I may not have been finished.
Well, but that's what
I
I'm
may not have
saying.
been told.
Every woman you ask, if they're being honest, will admit they faked at certain points because either it's too embarrassing to say they weren't done or because they wanted to be done.
But I tell you this, especially as you get older, it's like I'm an open book. I mean, if you need something, want something, this is the no judgment zone.
But it's
I can
more,
go in the kitchen. I can be back in 90 seconds if you need something that's in there.
but women aren't familiar with sharing that, and it's easier to not discuss it.
Well, then guess what? Guess who's not our mind reader? All I can do is open the door. If you want to close the door, that's on you.
Well, I'm just saying historically, sex is usually about a woman accommodating
90
a man.
seconds. Huh?
And we can tell it's pretty clear when a man has an orgasm. It's not always clear when a female has an orgasm.
I agree.
And so women aren't always comfortable. I mean, I've definitely had the discussion with a couple of relationships where I was like, I'm so happy that you had a great experience. I, however, am not finished. And they were like,
please, sir, I'm not. Well, don't validate their parking. No,
but
I'm not validating that.
I mean, how insulting is it when you think you're having sex so you can both have a great time? One person has a great time, and then you're like, you're not done. And you're like, well, yes, I am. That's a difficult conversation. I was surprised. Two different guys, both times they're like, well, I was like, no. We're here together we want the same outcome. I tried to get there and I couldn't. So we've got to finish this. And
now at this point, might offer some suggestions?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. I mean, you can't just expect them to figure out what to do.
Okay. Well, that's what we're talking about then.
Yeah. Both times they were very surprised. I mean, and you know what? They accommodated, but I didn't feel the love. I didn't feel like the love was there. I felt like it was more of a like, oh,
a chore.
I can't believe I've got to let her have a good time too. I'm exhausted. So
let me just tell you, as a man, as a woman, you got to get your stuff in early, because once a man's done, it's like your brain is a flop.
I mean, I think if I remember this correctly, we talked about this, and it takes women an average of 20 minutes.
Oh, the game's on.
I know. You can imagine the level of resentment that creates, right? I mean, if you're the type of woman that can't speak up for yourself and you're very uncomfortable about your sexuality, but you want your partner to be happy, then it would be very frustrating. Right? I mean, unless you just say, hey, honey, why don't you go get us some drinks? And then while you get the drinks, we grab a vibrator. And then everybody's fine.
Everybody's fine. Or grab a guy from walking down the street. We can get that person in there too.
Guys, the problem is you guys have orgasms too quick. What did we learn? I think it was something like 6 minutes or something. You can have an orgasm in 6 minutes, which if you do the math, which even though I'm not great at math, I can tell that.
Well, you know what? That's a good question. Why is the timing off? Why do women live 7 years longer? Why does it take 20 minutes versus 6 minutes? Who's in charge here? What's going on?
I think it's because we have better multi-layered orgasms.
Why do you have a round piece pizza in a square box cut into triangles?
We're here to learn. That's why, Tom. We're here to learn. I think women's orgasms feel differently than men's. And I think it takes longer to get there because it's more of a multi-layer orgasm. And so you need more work in that area to get it going. It's just not.
But if you hand a manual as a guy walks into the apartment.
But here's the thing. At the beginning of a relationship, I bet the guy's very happy to take the 20 minutes.
Of course.
If you're exhausted, it's a long day. You just want to have sex and you know it's going to be 20 minutes. It's probably easier to say, never mind, and just jerk off.
Do you think it's going to be a 1-to-1 relationship, 1-to-1 ratio? Woman has an orgasm, man and they got to be 1-and-1 for their entire relationship.
No, it can't be. I mean, that's not realistic.
Right. All right.
It's not realistic, but I guess because we know the way the bodies work, the man will always have an orgasm. So then it becomes really lopsided.
Right.
And then
as a man, it's like, okay, I enjoy having orgasms. if I'd like to continue to have orgasms with this particular woman, I better step up my game to make sure that she enjoys having sex as well. Because it's not going to last forever if it's just orgasms for me. She's going to be tired of that quickly.
Well, I think that takes a level of thinking that a lot of men don't have.
It's pretty straightforward.
I think it is too, but do you think most men recognize or even put any thought into the fact that it statistically takes a woman at least 20 minutes to have an orgasm? I don't know that a lot of men educate themselves in the female body and what it takes for a woman to have an orgasm. I just think they're frustrated because they're like, well, I came, didn't you?
Allow
Oh,
me
you did?
allow
Great.
me to offer a mindset to a man.
Offer it.
You're the one man. If you're the one man watching the show, every time you have sex with a woman, you should think that this is the last time you're going to have sex with this woman. And open up your mind and enjoy this last time. Because you guess what? All your partners you've ever had, you had the last sexual experience with that person. You may not have known it.
Yeah.
So
True.
if you focus your attention with that thought in your mind, then it's like, I want her to have a great time. I want to remember this. I want to enjoy this. So it's kind of like fresh eyes.
Yeah. Fresh eyes. Yeah. I think that's good.
It's hard to think of it as the first time, but it's an interesting mindset to be that this could be the last time.
Do you utilize that?
Absolutely.
Okay. No, that's interesting. I think we need to teach a class.
Oh, I ran across an interesting person. She was a matchmaker.
Yes.
I'll send you some information. But I saw her on the TikTok.
You love the TikTok.
Did you see the latest one with the cat?
I had seen that and it was adorable with the little cucumbers on the eyes and stuff.
It was amazing that the cat
Cats,
was
man.
standing for that. And the cat wanted those cucumbers on his eyes.
Cats know what they want, man.
That was crazy. All right, Daddy's got to go to work, hon.
All right. Well, I know we've talked a lot about sex, but
yeah.
Would you like to
I just gave the best tip of the day.
To reiterate
a tip. Pretend
the tip is
the last time. Savor your sexuality.
And not angry sex like it's the last time and then you're breaking up, but good sex.
Of course, I wanted this to be a positive. Of course, you're not thinking it's your last time, but you never know.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Maybe the last time, I don't know.
Today's Monday. Wednesday, we have a guest we're very excited about, March 31st, Mr. Henry Penix. So we're very excited to have him on and see what kind of tricks he pulls out of his hat.
And what is Henry's specialty?
Henry he is called the business fighter. He schools people in different business strategies. I met him through HSN through one of his product lines. And also Mr. Penix has had the special circumstance appearing on the Shark Tank.
Ooh, here we go.
So we'll be talking about the Shark Tank and his experience there.
I am piqued.
Yeah. So that'll be a lot of fun. Well, I really hope all of our friends learned a lot of sex stuff today.
Good luck. If you're learning sex stuff from me, good luck.
That's the way it went today. So I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom Wise.
You've been unpacking some shit with us today. We'll see you on Wednesday.
It's a date. It's another one in the can.